Today we are testing out my dream interface, the Orion 32 Plus Gen 3. Let's record some drums.
Hello everyone, welcome back around the drum. This is Unfiltered. I'm Tay, this is David, and we have something special today. We tested out the Antelope Audio Orion 32 Plus Gen 3. We went to David's studio. So David, tell us what we did.
We shot out the 32 Plus Gen 3 converters versus my Apogee AD-16X, and we also tried out some of the included Antelope plugins and tracked with them.
Stay till the end to see side-by-side comparisons.
Let's get to the studio.
Today we are at my humble home studio. We're going to be doing some drums today, so let's walk you through the setup. So we've got our overheads coming through channels 15 and 16 of my console. Those are the two most colorful ones. And then I've got a couple of channels here that's for the bottom snare and the three toms. Then if you come down here to my 500 rack, we've got the Lola for the room mic. We've got two Cappy VP26s for the kick and snare, and then it's all going to my Apogee AD-16X. So we're taking the Apogee out via ADAT, going into my Audient ID44. This is just acting as the interface to get the digital signal into the computer, but I'm also using this for the headphone outputs and the monitor outputs. I love the monitoring capabilities on this thing, and I can't recommend it enough. As you can see here, we've got an M-Patch Active 1. I'm not using that right now. That's going to be for the Orion 32. As you can see here, we've got some extra gear. We've got a distressor, a 76, and an Aphex compressor. I'm not going to be using any of that gear today because I want to show you guys what these converters sound like with just preamps as clean as they can possibly be. And then we're going to be showing off some of the Orion plugins afterward. All right, for the live room, we've got the Crush Chameleon Ash Kit. On the overheads, we're using SE8 microphones. For the snare, we've got an Audix i5 on the top and bottom. On the rack toms, we're using Audix D2s, and the floor tom is a D4. And on the kick drum, we are using a D112. We are also using a CAD ribbon mic for the room.
All right, let's hear the kit just through the Apogee converters.
All right, now that we've switched out the Apogee for the Orion, I took all the DB25 cables that were coming into the Apogee, switched them into here, and plugged this in via USB, so it's literally the exact same signal chain, just changing the converter. Now this is really important. If you don't have a computer that's got a lot of USB bandwidth, you will only get 24 inputs with the Orion 32. So if you need more inputs, just use a different USB port or a USB card that gives you the bandwidth you need. For the headphone amp, I was using the Audient, now I'm using the JBL Active 1, and this is also our monitor outputs as well. So let's take a listen to the raw drums through the Orion 32 Plus.
All right, for a little comparison and context here, we have the Apogee Raw versus the Orion Raw.
All right, now that we've heard the raw conversion from the Orion 32 Plus Gen 3, let's check out some of the included plugins so you can see what they sound like while tracking.
The Orion comes with a handful of some plugins here, so I will be gating all of the close mics, and then I'm going to add some EQ to the kick drum, some compression to the bottom snare, and cleaning up some of the overheads. All right, so let's hear the kit through these plugins.
All right, for more context here, we have the Orion Raw versus the Orion with the tracking plugins.
So now that we've heard all the samples and you guys have heard the samples, Tay, what are your thoughts?
As a non-engineer, as more of just a drummer musician, I did hear a difference here. And you can go back to our Orion episode that we recorded a few months ago.
Oh, with the mastering converters, the Peer 2 and the Amari.
Yep. And it's kind of that same feeling with that video. I could hear the difference. It was, again... I felt like the audio spectrum was bigger and more filled in. Some of the high ends and mids were just like added, lifted and added. So, man, it does make a difference. It felt a little claustrophobic on the Apogee a little bit.
That's the exact word I was going to use.
Really?
Yeah.
I stole it. You can't have it back. Generally speaking, from a layman's perspective, it does just open it up more. I highly recommend it.
That's exactly what I was thinking. I really like my Apogee. Don't get me wrong. I love my Apogee converter. It's been a standard for almost 20 years now.
Yeah.
It sounds great, but the Orion just sounds better. A lot better. Like everything was... like you said, opened up, especially the bottom snare. Like that channel that I had the bottom snare going through is meant to be just a really pokey, aggressive channel. And I didn't hear that with the Apogee, but I finally heard it with the Orion. And it's like, that's how it should be. It's like the conversion wasn't there. And that's exactly what I want out of a converter. So as far as sound goes, I think the Orion is second to none.
Yeah, definitely. And so talk to me about tracking with the plugins we used.
So this is one of the things that I'm not super huge on with the Orion 32 Plus. The HD is a bit of a different story, but the 32 Plus only comes with like 5 different plugins.
Okay.
And I wouldn't use any of these plugins to track through in a real scenario. The EQ is not very flexible. You just get selected frequencies like 2K, 3K, 10K, whatever.
Okay.
Nothing in between. So there's no real refinement. The compressors were okay, but I'm a guy who likes to track through nice analog gear. So I would love if a distressor plugin was included or 1176. When Antelope first started doing these FPGA plugins, they first said they were going to include them all with for free with the FPGA chip gear. And they stopped doing that. I mean, probably because it gets expensive.
Sure.
I get it. But it was just kind of disappointing that it didn't come with anything colorful. It was just clean stuff. But it can be good to send to different headphone mixes for people. So
Okay.
That's my thoughts on the plugins. To me, that's the only downside of this. You do need a monitor controller and a headphone amp. That's not a huge deal, though. The conversion quality in this thing is incredible. And even going through the extra electronics of a monitor controller isn't changing a whole lot.
Right. And those vary between, pretty cheap and expensive, but there's something for everybody out there. And
Right.
most studios and engineers have one or have access to one and know about them, so it's not a big deal.
Right. And we're both using Audion ID44s right now.
Yep.
Not for long, because I will be getting an Orion 32 Plus later this year, because you just can't beat that conversion. Like the Audion sounds good, but it's also a lot cheaper than the Orion. The Orion, you're getting 32 channels of AD and DA, plus the mastering grade. It's the same converters as in this mastering converter, the Peer 2. And it just sounds like it should. It's like the conversion isn't there.
This guy, for like the last few weeks, has been just dreading the day that he has to give back the Orion 32 Plus
Yeah.
Gen 3.
Yeah.
And just hopefully he's just holding on to the last few days he has it.
I am. Like, mixing through this is great. Tracking through it is great. I tracked a few things this weekend through it. And it just sounds like the instrument should. It doesn't sound like anything is getting in the way. And I don't want to talk bad about Apogee because I really like the AD-16X. It sounds, well, first of all, it's got that soft limit feature. So it lets you put in pretty hard-hitting signals, whereas the Orion actually clipped once or twice. You couldn't hear it, which is good. But it did clip a little bit because it doesn't have the soft limit like the Apogee. So that's great. But, I mean, everything seems dull compared to this Orion. Like, nothing sounds like it should unless I'm going through that thing. So
Yeah.
Those are my thoughts. And overall, 9 out of 10. The only 1 point missing is for the lack of included plugins.
Oh, okay. They're going to say monitor control, but that's easily fixed. And,
Yeah. I like being able to have my own because I don't always want to reach down and turn knobs on an interface in my rack. I want to have it right there anyway. So I don't see that as a huge deal.
Well, let us know what you guys think. You listen to the sound samples. Tell us which one you like better. You know, what you thought the differences were, which one you would prefer.
And if you think I'm totally wrong, let me know in the comments. Tear me apart.
Yeah, totally. And we'll also add a link here so you could download it locally to your system or whatever, and you can hear that for yourself.
Yeah, YouTube kind of destroys the quality. I mean, it goes down to an MP3. So you might hear the difference here, you might not. But if you hear it locally from downloaded files, you will hear a big difference.
So please let us know. And don't forget to subscribe and like this channel for more content like this. So, David, anything else on this?
Get one. You won't regret it. You will not regret it.
Well, thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you on the drum next time.